On today's show, the New York Knicks outlast the Los Angeles Lakers in the first Sunday night game, and then Oklahoma City takes down the Denver Nuggets in a Western Conference showdown. We'll talk about that. Plus, all-star reserves have been released, and that's all straight ahead on today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Night.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
What's up, everybody? My name is Danny Cunningham, and I cover the Cleveland Cavaliers over at Locked On Cavs, and my co-host is Swipa, who covers the Denver Nuggets over at Locked On Nuggets, and you're listening to the latest edition of Locked On NBA Game Night. You can find us right here at the Locked On NBA channel on YouTube every single night, and you can find us anywhere you get your podcasts. It's Apple, Spotify, or anywhere else. Please hit the thumbs up button on YouTube as we get started. It's because of people like you that the Locked On Podcast Network is now the #1 sports podcast network in all of America, so we very much do appreciate you. And today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That is code LOCKED ON for $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. We had 10 games in the association on Sunday, so we have a lot to get to, plus all-star reserves that were announced. And we begin this one by talking about the New York Knicks getting a 112-100 win over the Los Angeles Lakers. This is 6 wins in a row for New York after they had lost, I believe it was 9 out of 11 at one point. They seem to have righted the ship. A great performance from OG Anunoby. He had 25 points. Josh Hart had 20 points. And the Knicks, Swiper, really did a good job of winning a game in which their 2 All-Stars, because Karl Anthony Towns was named an All-Star reserve on Sunday, their 2 All-Stars didn't necessarily have it going on, and they still found a way to get a win against a good team. And I think that is a very good sign for the direction the Knicks are headed in.
They have one of the most interesting situations in the league, the Knicks, because when they don't have when Karl Anthony Towns isn't having the most effective game, or they simply say, we need a defensive stopper and somebody who's going to get stops, not be liability, and also going to be able to get the rebounds and especially work on the offensive glass. They just put Mitchell Robinson in. He played 23 minutes today. Towns played 32. And Mitchell Robinson closed that fourth quarter, and it was his play that led to the offensive rebound that led out to the Landry Shamet 3 that really ended up putting the game out of reach with the last 90 seconds or 2 minutes left in the game. He is just such an elite force. He had 3 offensive rebounds of his total 7 rebounds today. And he only had 1 shot attempt, 0 points. But it's just little stuff that he does that literally makes this team move and play so well. And Karl was a plus 23 in the minutes that he played. OG Anunoby was spectacular. He had 25 points. He made 4 threes. He had a really strong offensive rebound in the fourth quarter that he was able to finish with a dunk as well. I thought Josh Hart had a really good game. Now, he had a couple, down the stretch, he took a 3 that wasn't great, but it was kind of one of those bailout grenade shots that he needed to take before the shot clock went out. But the real story is Landry Shamet. And Phoenix Suns fans, you know who Landry Shamet is. NBA fans are very aware who Landry Shamet is. This is somebody who is basically on the verge of being out of the league, because as the league was moving towards, you got to be a bigger guard, be a defender, all of these other things. He kind of faded out of that because people just didn't think he had a lot of viability. But look, Mike Woodson, head coach's name, brother. Huh?
Mike Brown.
Yeah, Mike Brown. I don't know why I said Mike Woodson.
The name is Mike. You got the first name right.
Exactly. In this, what he said was that he had watched Landry and he just kind of realized that there are certain ways he could be optimized with his team. So Landry, y'all, I can't tell you enough. When you overplay offensively and you're guarding Jalen Brunson and then you're slanting your coverages toward him, or when they're picking up on Luka and then they then have to send doubles, when Jalen Brunson shifts your defense down the left-hand side, driving with his dominant hand, and then you have an outlet on a swing from the corner to the right wing, and Landry Shamet is sitting there, that made all of the difference today in this game versus the Lakers, in particular in the fourth quarter when they were trying to get back in the game. So I really love how well he played today. Tyler Kolek is a baller too, y'all. I did not expect him to be a high-level key role player in the NBA, especially this early. But that dude is good. He can play defense. He's not like the best defender in the world, but he gives a lot of effort. He tries, obviously, out of Marquette. So, like, he's a very gritty player. He's a good shooter. He had 2 really big threes that he made in this game. I just really like this team, man. I like the Knicks. I like the way they play together. Mikal Bridges had a really big steal in this game as well. LeBron tried to throw the ball baseline. Mikal got the backside steal on it. They just made multiple plays in the third quarter and in the fourth quarter. And remember, they were down, I believe, at halftime because they just, LA was getting what they wanted, but then they turned the tide in the second half, man, and they just made good decision after good decision, and they just kept making all the plays while LA didn't.
Yeah, Lakers led this game by 4 at halftime, and then the Knicks outscored them by 12 points, 38-26 in the third quarter, and ultimately that was the difference in the game. Now, the Knicks can feel very good about this win. This East Coast road trip for the Lakers hasn't necessarily gone as planned. They did get LeBron James named as an all-star reserve. We'll talk about that in a second, but first, here is Locked On Lakers with more from this Lakers angle.
Co-host of Locked On Lakers. Lakers go into the Garden on Sunday, lose to the Knicks, 112-100 the final score. LeBron James, a lot of speculation around whether or not this would be his last game in New York. He has a good one, 22 points, 9 of 15 shooting, 5 rebounds, 6 assists. Obviously, a lot of speculation around his future on the day he was named to the Western Conference All-Star team. Another thing that'll spark a lot of conversation. Luka Doncic did his best to keep the Lakers in at 30 points, but overall, the Lakers offense really failed them. It was an ugly first half. The Lakers still finished ahead. Everything was disjointed, though, and as soon as New York managed to get themselves going, the Lakers still couldn't get that offense rolling the way they needed to. New York pulls ahead. The Lakers score 18 points in the fourth quarter. They do need Austin Reeves to come back. There was some speculation that he might make it back earlier in this trip. He still obviously has not returned. Only one game left in the trip for Reeves to play in, and if he doesn't, it might start causing some concern because the Lakers made it pretty clear they thought he would appear on this 8-game trip. So plenty more to come on Locked On Lakers. Make sure you tune in for the full episode.
Do you have any issue with LeBron being named a Western Conference reserve?
Oh,
to the All-Star
gosh.
team?
Well, what a way to ask me this question. So I have to get on record. Yeah. It's tough because it's LeBron, and I understand that it's LeBron, and obviously the All-Star game is better having LeBron there. But if we're doing this based on who has played the best and earned the right to be there, LeBron has a career of earning the right to be there, which is why he's there, because he's LeBron. But the idea that, first off, I think Devin Booker still should make it. I think I'm rewarding Devin Booker for the fact that he's leading that team to the 6th seed right now, whatever it is, and like the fact that they have, with a brand new roster, try to figure out what exactly they are and brand new identity, new coach and all that, and they're still making it work. But the fact that Kawhi Leonard is averaging 27.6 points per game, 6 rebounds, 3 assists, he's shooting 50, 39, and 92 on the season. 50, 39, 92 on the season, and he's averaging, I believe, a career high in points. And I heard this today as well. Reportedly, 27 points a game. That is the most points ever not allowed on an All-Star game, reportedly. So Kawhi Leonard is having a top 10 year easily, but he's left off the ballot, even though they're 17-4 in their last 21 games with him spearheading that run. Denny had to make it. Chet had to make it. And Edwards had to make it. Jamal had to make it. But if you want to say that LeBron or Booker, if they're the ones that took Kawhi's spot, pick one. There's no world in which Kawhi Leonard should be left off the All-Star team.
Do you think him not being on the, and you know what this question is going to be, do you think that him not being on the All-Star team has anything to do with what happened this offseason, what was unveiled by Pablo Torre this offseason with the potential cap circumvention scandal that is sort of just hovering over Kawhi Leonard and the Clippers with the aspiration? I guess, like fake endorsement deal that just like allegedly was a way to funnel him some extra money and circumvent the cap. Do you think that had anything to do with it?
Well, first off, I don't know how aware Kawhi Leonard was of all of the stuff that's happening. Like I'm not aware. I don't know. I do know this. That's between Steve Ballmer and the Aspiration CEO, who I believe is in jail because of everything that took place and the fact that he committed fraud. That's between the two head honchos who made this deal. Steve Ballmer is not on the court, and he has nothing to do with Kawhi getting buckets and playing defense.
He does not.
I think that's the issue is you can penalize Steve. Yeah, penalize the Clippers. If you find out they did, it looks like they did this. If you find out they lied about it and they did it, hey, take away draft picks. Fine them. Do whatever you need to do. That has nothing to do with Kawhi Leonard on the floor in 2025 playing better than at everybody in the NBA, maybe except for 9 other people. For me, I just think that it doesn't make sense. And this is also, Jamal Murray talked about this, we'll talk about a little bit later. I am also of the mindset the All-NBA means way more.
Oh, yeah.
Way more
100%.
Than All-Star. And so he's on track for second-team All-NBA at this point. So I don't even think, like, if you want to, snub him for the All-Star, I guess. But, like, okay, I guess, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, All-NBA, it absolutely means 10 times as more as being named to an all-star team. Like, I truthfully think, like, if you gave these guys truth serum, they would rather take the week off than go to all the all-star festivities. And if you don't believe me, maybe try and track some private jets as soon as the game ends on Sunday afternoon, leaving LA to see where they end up going. But the Clippers were in action. They beat the Phoenix Suns 117-93 in Phoenix on Sunday. They moved to 23-25. They play again, I believe, on Monday. And then they have a game on Wednesday if they win both of those after what was just a terrible start to the season. I believe they were 6-21 at some point. They could be back at 500 as they reach the 50 game mark. So that is something to watch for there, even though Kawhi Leonard is not yet an all-star. You never know with potential injury replacements that could come to fruition. Now, there was a showdown in the Western Conference. The two teams that I think are the two best teams in the Western Conference, they played on Sunday. We'll talk about that game as OKC took down Denver. That's straight ahead right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, today's show is brought to you by Prize Picks. The big game, almost here. And there's no better way to cash in during America's biggest sporting event than with Prize Picks, because that's where it always feels good to be right. And this week's Prize Picks has a special max discount for the big game. Live in the app right now, all you need. Drake May, just one passing yard. Drake May can get one passing yard. I might be able to get one passing yard. Just throw a bubble screen or a tunnel screen. Let the receiver do the work. I might be able to do that. Drake May can definitely do that. I don't care how good Seattle's defense is or isn't. Drake May is going to be able to do that. And if Drake May does that, and you add another player to your lineup, and that player hits, then you can cash in, because Prize Picks is super simple to use. It takes no time to get started. The whole format is clean. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and it makes watching games even more fun, because every drive and every stat truly does matter. So download the Prize Picks app today and use the code LOCKEDONNBA, that is LOCKEDON NBA, to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONNBA again to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Thank you again for making today's edition of Locked On NBA your first listen. Thank you to those of you everydayers out there that make Locked On NBA your first listen every single day. And the NBA trade deadline basically here, and we want to give you a free month of the new Everydayer Club to help get you ready for it. If you need a group chat to keep up with chaos, join ours. The Everydayer Club gets you access to a group chat just for whatever team that you are a fan of, plus national chats where you can hang out with fans from all across the league. Plus, you also get ad-free versions of this show. And if you sign up by the trade deadline on February 5th, you can use code DEADLINE, that is DEADLINE, to get your first month for free. Tap the link in the show notes to learn more. The biggest game of the night, or I think the most hyped game of the night, took place in Denver as Oklahoma City got a 121-111 win over the Denver Nuggets. Nikola Jokic played, I believe, his second game back from a knee injury in this one. Jamal Murray, fresh off being named an all-star for the first time, didn't necessarily have a great night. Peyton Watson was awesome for the Denver Nuggets, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 34 points. Cason Wallace had 27 points, and Oklahoma City was victorious. What'd you see in this one, Swipa?
Shea had, I think, his best offensive game of the season. Now, maybe some of that is more results-based because he had 13 assists today, which is a season high. This is his 5th double-double of the season. So it doesn't happen often. Shea is not a normally extremely high-level passer, but maybe some of that is, a lot of OKC's fans will say, well, this is just the way the offense is structured, whatever. I think this game, I believe of the 13 assists he had, I want to say 10 were three-pointers. Ooh. So OKC in the first 3 quarters made 18 threes. 18. And the score got to 74-77 at one point after Jokic made a 3, and it was with 5 minutes left in the third. OKC then made 4 straight threes. Cason Wallace had a career high 27 points, and he made a career high 7 threes in 3 quarters. Career high 7 threes in 3 quarters. The game got out of hand because as good as Denver's offense was, they played a style where they were over-helping on Shea, but they weren't playing good enough all-ball defense in front of Shea because obviously Christian is not there, but then they were not defending the 3-ball well, and they were like, all right, well, OKC, they don't have a lot of great shooters. OKC's 15th in the NBA in 3-point shooting, so they're not a great 3-point shooting team. Well, today they were. They were excellent. They started their best shooting performance of the season. Shea was incredible, spinning layups, spinning turnaround jumpers, sidestep jumpers, you name it. He was 11 of 16 from the field. And then on the other end, Jokic had 2 points in the first half, but the way that he was being guarded, I thought it was fine. If you're over-helping, then cool. Boom. Let's just get the ball moving, get the ball out, get the ball passing. And the Nuggets were scoring at a really high level. Jamal, who is shooting insane, I think he's going into this game, he's shooting 44% on pull-up three-pointers this year. He was 1 of 8 from 3. Missing wide open ones. Tim Hardaway Jr. was 0 of 5 from 3 in this game. The Nuggets, they just couldn't play good enough defense consistently. Jokic played more minutes today. He played 5 more minutes than he did last game. He's still on a minutes restriction. Valanciunas wasn't great coming off the bench. But the story for OKC is SGA played up the best player on the floor today. Cason Wallace had a career game. Peyton Watson was incredible. Peyton Watson, as one of my co-hosts, we had deliberations about how well he's played because, we were talking about the games that he's had and who he's played against. Peyton Watson played the most minutes on the floor today. 37 minutes played for Peyton Watson. He had 29 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists, and he was 5 of 7 from 3 and 11 of 17 from the field. He was incredible. So I think OKC, they came in with the right mindset saying, we want to prove something tonight. They came out and they did that. Denver did not respond well to that at all. Denver hit them last year with I think 144 points scored where Denver was making all the threes that they wanted to in OKC. And OKC returns the favor and then comes back to Denver this year and does it. Like I said, 18 through the first 3 quarters. It was supposed to be a better game. I don't like games that are just pure shootouts. That's not my type of basketball. I like there to be defense. And it just was not that at all for most of this game today.
Yeah, I mean, shot making at a high level, certainly maybe not the best defensive game. I would have expected a little bit better, although I do think, the turnovers forced in this game do tell a little bit of the defensive story. Anytime you can force Nikola Jokic into 6 turnovers, I feel like you did something well defensively. And OKC does a great job of forcing turnovers. It feels like every single night, but they forced him into 6 for as good as Peyton Watson was. He turned the basketball over 4 times too. And that's really where, when that happens, it gets really, really difficult to beat Oklahoma City because the Nuggets did concede 19 points off those turnovers. And if you look in a game that they lose by 10, you can kind of make the case that is at least one of the differences in the game.
Yeah, okay. I mean, SGA had 4 turnovers in his own right. It's just the way you have turnovers and converting on those possessions. So, again, I don't want to say, there's not a lot for me, the OKC is obviously missing J-Dub and Caruso, and then AJ Mitchell. But on the other end, obviously, Denver's missing Gordon, Brown, and Cam. Those are 3 of their starters. And Jokic's second game back. It just felt like the Nuggets were a little raw today. Jamal had his worst game that he's had in months. As a scorer, at least. He had 12 assists in this game, so he was passing well. But really, all the way about this is just Denver has to defend better. OKC had, again, it's an outlier shooting performance in the first 3 quarters, but they got really good looks. I think SGA had a phenomenal game as well. It was just all the way around. I just think this was a really, really, really good game from OKC.
Yeah, very good win for OKC. They continue to solidify themselves as what will be, I think it's fair to say, the number 1 seed in the Western Conference and the team that ultimately will have home court advantage the entire time through the playoffs. But moving on to, I guess, like a play-in series that just wrapped up as the Chicago Bulls and Miami Heat played for the 3rd consecutive game. This one ends with Miami getting a 134-91 win over Chicago. Let's head on over to Locked On Heat for more.
Night's disappointing loss, the Miami Heat bounce back and get a blowout win over the Chicago Bulls on Sunday night. This game was over pretty early. The Heat go up by 20 points in the first quarter and never look back. This thing was a whole lot of garbage time here at the end. Headlines from this game: Pelle Larsson, 20 points on 8 of 11 shooting. That's right, Pelle Larsson, okay, who has been starting on the heels of a bunch of different kinds of injuries for the Miami Heat. The Heat have a winning record when Pelle Larsson is in that starting lineup. He's just a glue guy. He's a do-everything kind of guy. And tonight, he was a scoring kind of guy. Again, 8 of 11 shooting, made 3 3-pointers in this game, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. He had a block and a steal in this game. He was a plus 33 in his 24 minutes. Just a tremendous game from him. Bam was great. Kel'el Ware gave good minutes off the bench after playing just a couple of minutes on Saturday night. So Spo going back to Kel'el Ware there. But the headline here, again, is Larsson. And with the Heat very involved in these Giannis Antetokounmpo trade rumors, you just got to wonder, like, if the Bucks are watching these games, are they going to demand Pelle Larsson in that trade? And what kind of trade chip is he? We're going to talk about that and a whole lot more on Locked On Heat.
I'm sure John Horst is losing sleep over Pelle Larsson as to whether or not that's enough to push a Giannis package over the finish line. Obviously, we don't know what's going to happen with Giannis, but I do think that as of right now, these two teams are destined to meet again in mid-April when the NBA play-in tournament begins. Who wins that game could be the same team that won tonight, but is there anything that you need to get off your chest from this one?
No, not at all. But shout out to my dude. Shout out to Miami, man.
Yeah, and Wes's hat was really cool. I like that, so I'll give him credit there. But we've got a few more games to get into, including Jared Allen. Yeah, Jared Allen had 40 points. I think maybe the most unlikely 40-point scorer in a game this season. We'll talk about that and the rest of the NBA games from Sunday next, right here on Locked On NBA Game Night. But first, today's show is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part, not always been so simple. That's why Game Time is the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. And it puts the advantage back where it belongs with you, the fan. You can pull up the Game Time app. You can pick an upcoming NBA game in the city you are in, or maybe the city that you will be in the very near future. And you can have tickets locked in within minutes. You can see the all-in price up front. What you see is what you pay. You're not going to be surprised at the very last minute. Oh man, I thought I was going to pay this. Now it's this. No, that's not how Game Time works. They're not going to bombard you with last minute fees and everything else. The price you see is the price you pay. Plus, you can see your view from your seat before you buy. If you want to say, hey, I'd like to be across from the home team bench, or I want just a great view of center court, Game Time will let you know exactly what your view is going to look like. They've got last minute options too that are fantastic, with NBA tickets showing up at solid prices as tip-off grows near. So take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKED ON for $20 off your first purchase with Game Time. That is code LOCKED ON, LOCKEDON, for $20 off that first purchase. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it is gametime.co, gametime.co, not .com. Today's show is also brought to you by BetterHelp. February can be a lot. Flowers, candy, stuffed animals, and so much talk about relationships. It can honestly feel like everyone else has everything all together in their love life. But here's the truth. Whether you're married, dating, single, or just focused on loving yourself, most people are still figuring it out. And no matter where you are in your romantic journey, therapy can help you to find your way. can help you get clear on what you want, what feels heavy, and how to take some pressure off of yourself. It can be easy to assume that everybody else has the perfect relationship, right? We've all seen it on social media. Nobody has any problems there. Well, the truth is most people are working through something, and therapy can help you recognize patterns that might be weighing your relationships down. It can also help you to communicate better, set healthier boundaries, and stop carrying everything that can feel so heavy this time of year by yourself. BetterHelp has licensed therapists in the US, and they do the initial matching work for you so that you can focus on your goals. If you want to switch therapists, you can do so at any time. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/lockedonnba. That is BetterHelp, BetterHelp.com/lockedonnba, LOCKEDONNBA. Again, that is betterhelp.com/lockedonnba for 10% off today. Thank you again for making today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen. Thank you to those of you that make this show your first listen every single day. And in the game for the team that I cover, the Cleveland Cavaliers, they got a 130-111 win over the Portland Trail Blazers on Sunday night. Donovan Mitchell wasn't great in this one. He only had 14 points for the Cavs after being named an All-Star reserve. It's the 7th consecutive year that he's been named an All-Star. But the story of this game, Swipa, Jared Allen. Cavs are without Evan Mobley right now. They're without Darius Garland right now. They traded DeAndre Hunter on Saturday night. A little bit of a short-handed team, I should say. Jared Allen goes off for 40 points, 17 boards, 5 assists, and 4 blocks in 30 minutes. The absolute best game, I'm confident saying, that he has ever played in his NBA life.
What do you think was the spark?
I thought that the way that he opened up the game, because I think Allen is this guy that you can tell what his activity level is going to be early on. And he had 16 points in the first quarter. And the Blazers are a team that likes to play fast, even if Donovan Clingan might not be the center that is best suited for that. And Jarrett was repeatedly beating him down the floor. Of the 16 points that he had, it felt like 8 of them were just easy buckets in transition because Donovan Clingan was 10 to 15 feet behind Jared Allen in a foot race to the basket. And that was, to me, the thing that really was the spark. And what I was really impressed with was the way the Cavs were able to keep him involved. Because I think, and this is a problem with Evan Mobley too, we'll see either of those guys have a really good first half. And then in the second half, the Cavs don't necessarily do a great job of playing through their big men. And you could see, Jared Allen had an awesome first half where he had 15 points and then he has 1 shot attempt in the second half. And that was not the case in this game. So I thought that was like the most important part of this, especially in a night where Donovan wasn't very good. He had 14 points on 15 shots. He looked like he had some tired legs. He's been playing a lot of minutes lately with the Cavs being as shorthanded as they have been. So overall, I think anytime you get a win on the road when your best player doesn't play well, you have to be happy about it. For Portland, Caleb Love led the way. He had 21 points. As I mentioned, Denny Avdia did not play in this game. Shaedon Sharpe had 20 on 21 shots. Just kind of a game that without Denny, the Blazers are obviously not as good of a basketball team. He was, however, named to his first NBA All-Star team on Sunday. Certainly an honor I thought was deserved for him.
Yeah, congratulations to Denny. Obviously, that means a lot for him. And yeah, Jared Allen, man, just incredible game. Boosting that Giannis trade value, perhaps. But yeah, shout out to him. 40 points is crazy, but I like Jared Allen a lot, man. That's huge.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to get 40 in the next game they play against the Clippers on Wednesday night. But moving on, the San Antonio Spurs, after several travel delays, get a 112-103 win over the Orlando Magic. Here is Locked On Magic for more.
This is Philip Rossman-Reich, the host of Locked On Magic, as the Orlando Magic fall to the San Antonio Spurs 112-103 in a crazy day for the San Antonio Spurs as they travel from Charlotte through Atlanta to San Antonio on the day of the game. By all accounts, this should have been a schedule win for the Magic or a schedule loss for the Spurs. Same-day travel is extremely difficult. I don't care if they're flying private or not. But instead, San Antonio came out as the aggressors. They were playing hard and playing harder than the Magic from the very beginning. All Orlando really needed to do in this game was play with precision, play with intensity, and eventually the fatigue would win. They would beat the Spurs, and that's what they did in the second quarter when they erased a 17-point deficit and took a 1-point lead in the half with a 40-point quarter. But the Spurs were the more dominant, more physical, more aggressive team from the beginning, and Orlando couldn't really get out of their own way, whether it was turnovers, whether it was getting frustrated by a lack of foul calls. It's all about precision. And so San Antonio actually took 2 schedule losses from the Magic. Remember back in December, they had a Memphis to Orlando back-to-back, traveling east across time zones. And they came to Orlando and got a 2-point win without Victor Wembanyama, by the way. Got a 2-point win on that block by Luke Cornett. This, to me, defines the problem with the Orlando Magic this season. There's just this lack of precision, this lack of intensity, this ease to get frustrated that has frankly defined this team. And that's why they're missing opportunities to win games. San Antonio is a great team. This would have been stealing a game, no doubt about it. The Spurs were still favored at the end of the day. But this is the difference between the great teams, or the teams that are trying to compete for a championship, and teams like the Magic who are still trying to figure out who they are.
Better win for the Spurs or worse loss for the Magic?
Good win for the Spurs. Shout out Mitch Johnson. He is now going to be coaching the West in the All-Star game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure that I mean, obviously Mark Diagnalt not eligible after being the All-Star coach last year, so that it goes to the second place team. I don't think I would have had that on my bingo card at the start of the season. I think I probably would have predicted something else as opposed to Mitch Johnson, but congratulations to him. Certainly quite in honor as far as that goes. Moving on, the Toronto Raptors get a 107-100 win over the Utah Jazz. The Jazz actually did play Lauri Markkanen in this game. He had 27 points. Scotty Barnes, after being named an All-Star, he had 14 points on 5 of 12. Did have to leave the game briefly. Not necessarily a great game for him, but the Raptors moved to 30-21, and any win at this point in the season for them certainly should be considered a good win.
Yeah, man. Shout out, man. Lauri's obviously a really good player. I really like what the Jazz are building, so hopefully they continue to move in the right direction.
We've got 3 games left. One of them was a game between maybe the 2 worst teams in the NBA, as the Sacramento Kings took on the Washington Wizards in this one. Washington gets a 116-112 win in a game that they might have been better off losing. Let's hear from Locked On Wizards for more.
Wizards get the win in probably one of the most egregious tank-offs I've ever seen. 116-112 over the Sacramento Kings. The Kings now have sole possession of the NBA's worst record. The Wizards now tied for the 4th worst record after picking up win number 13. Alex Sara was questionable for today. They ruled him out at like 4:45. 15 minutes later, Domantas Sabonis is ruled out from the game. After I saw with my own 2 eyes at the arena him warming up, he ends up ruled out. The Wizards benched its starters for the final 16 minutes of this game. I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. Running a lineup of Sharif Cooper, A.J. Johnson, Anthony Gill, Will Riley for the final 16 minutes of the game. And somehow, the Wizards held on and won the game. Sacramento shot 4 for 21 from the field. In the first quarter, this game had 6 turnovers to go along with it, and I'm thinking to myself, wow, there's really no way the Wizards can lose this game. Sacramento will not let it happen. And at the end of the day, Sacramento refused to steal this game after Washington did literally everything it possibly could to lose this game. It was really a sight to see that the tank job was that proficient, and it didn't work out for Washington in the end. That's how it goes, and not a great product. If you were trying to watch this game for entertaining basketball, it was not that.
Maybe better days are ahead. That was an egregious tank job. It's one of among the worst. Maybe it's the biggest 2-sided tank job, because we've seen the Jazz really try and turn in some stinkers this year where they have sat everybody. But to see both teams do it on the same night, kind of funny, at least a little bit.
But how do you tank and lose when you got DeMar DeRozan giving you 32 and Zach giving you 35? I don't they are in the middle of
DeMar was a -14 and Zach LaVine was a -8 in those minutes.
Getting 67 points from your 2 best players on the floor, though, and then they're still getting Malik Monk for 17 minutes off the bench. Like, so they have good players. Maybe is this a Darren Peterson sweepstakes game at this point?
I mean, take your pick. Him, AJ DeBansa. I'm not like
Boozer.
I am not up enough on the college game to like truly know. We'll leave that over to our guys over at No Ceilings, the Locked On NBA Draft podcast that we have. Like, go check them out if you want analysis there. I don't have enough information to truly like give a take. But I know the Kings want to end up with one of those guys, and I know the Wizards do too, and I know so do the Jazz, and there are a few other teams.
Well, there's a big four. DeBansta, obviously Caleb Wilson, Boozer, and then Peterson, and then depending on the fifth, depending on who you ask. But so yeah, the four are gonna really help somebody. It's just gonna be so funny if like the Wizards end up with the fifth overall pick again. They just
yeah, I don't think they'll be laughing. We might be laughing. They're not going to be laughing. We've got two more games to get to. Both blowouts. The first one is the Boston Celtics just absolutely on Sunday obliterate the Milwaukee Bucks. Here's John Corrales with more.
Start for the Boston Celtics, but they turned it around in the second quarter. Thank you, Anthony Simons, for that. Celtics get the easy win, 107-79. I'm John Corrales from the Lockdown Celtics podcast. It's a slow start, afternoons for the Celtics, not always great, but they turn it around. Anthony Simons comes off the bench to drop 27. He had 11 in 6 minutes in the first quarter to turn a 12-point deficit into a tie after the first quarter. The Celtics went up 14 in the second quarter, and this is where the offensive rebounding really did a number on the Milwaukee Bucks. The Celtics had 92 field goal attempts. The Milwaukee Bucks had 81. And after the percentages kind of leveled out, all those extra chances are what helped the Celtics build a big lead. They're great at offensive rebounding. They're really great at tracking down long rebounds at the free throw line and turning their missed three-pointers into extra bites of the apple. And that's what happened in this one. Once they started doing that, the Bucks never could really recover, and the Celtics get the easy win. I'll be talking about it on the Lockdown Celtics podcast.
I think that went about as expected, and the Bucks now, I believe, fall to 3-14 without Giannis Antetokounmpo in the lineup. They are a very, 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 very bad basketball team when they don't have one of the best players in the world playing for them.
3-14.
I believe that's what it is. They are 15-15 with him.
Yeah, they're 3-14. I looked it up. Yeah, that's not good. But again, that's another tank commander job.
There's a pick swap out there where Atlanta could get their pick. They get, I believe it's the second best between them, New Orleans, and Atlanta. So they might not be totally screwed. However, they're not getting the number one pick this year, no matter what happens. And then as we wrap up today's show, the Detroit Pistons, they get a 130-77 win over the Brooklyn Nets. It is a disgusting box score to look at. The Brooklyn Nets put together, I think, one of the worst starting fives I've seen this year. Danny Wolf was a -43. Asar Thompson was a +43 for Detroit. I don't know that there's anything to take away from this game. The Pistons are good and the Nets stink.
Yeah, nothing at all. That's terrible, man. Shout out to Jordy Fernandez because he's too great of a coach with that. But hey, you know what? He got a long-term deal. He has a lot of job security in Brooklyn.
That's true. If you're going to go through this, at least have, a lot of job security to help get you through it. But that's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On NBA Game Nights. Very much appreciate you making this show your first listen. Make sure you check us out tomorrow with Locked On NBA Daily, and then again tomorrow night with Locked On NBA Game Night. You can follow us on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts to make sure that you get the latest episodes for us. And if you never miss an episode, the Everyday Club is built for you. Get this show ad-free plus members only Discord access and so much more. Head to the link in the show notes to join the club. And for those of you on video, we now send you to the first ever 24/7 national YouTube stream where we are going to talk more about the NBA right here on Locked On NBA Game Night.